The Pacific salmon stock plays an important role in the local ecosystems and the economy of our province. Each fall, millions of salmon make their final journey upstream to lay their eggs. But as climate change takes its course, our salmon stocks become vulnerable and begin to decline.
We're not expecting a ton of fish this year, unfortunately. The last 2 seasons previous to this have been really dry. This channel typically holds about 30,000 to 40,000 sockeye. We were able, luckily, to get about 15,000 of it, but that was it.
I'm here at the Weaver Creek spawning channel in Agassiz, and it might be empty right now, but come October, this channel will be filled with thousands of sockeye and chum salmon just in time for their spawning season. But due to recent years of drought, Fisheries and Oceans Canada have to come up with new ways to conserve and manage water.
We have not seen the lake that feeds this channel being recharged summer to summer. That lake is just not filling up to the point where we can run it reliably for an entire season. 2 years ago when it actually went dry, right? Up until then it had never happened. It wasn't something that we ever thought could happen. So once that did happen though, it was the next year was, okay, we need to have a plan in place. So we started those conversations basically well in advance of the October deadline, and we're basically setting weekly deadlines, like, okay, if we don't have rain by this time, we got to do this.
The channel was built in 1965 to provide an optimal spawning ground for salmon, but the earthy bottom makes it difficult for the channel to stay saturated.
You know, the water we have is finite. It's about like extending how we use that water. So, you know, through science-based review, we're constantly evolving our program, right? Adding things like recirculation systems where you really only have to use a minor amount of water.
Through DFO's Salmonoid Enhancement Program, the Chehalis River Hatchery is now installing a watertight liner so that less water is required. So Sean, tell us what the crews are working on right now.
Yeah, so right now what the excavator is doing is it's pulling up the rock from the bank, and then the bigger excavator is going to come in afterwards and dig about 18 inches down into the main gravel, exposing everything. Then they'll lay down the poly, and then all that rock goes back in.
So without the liner, how much water would it need to fill this channel, and then with the liner, how much would it?
It takes about 20,000 CFS to run the channel on a regular year. We're hoping that by having this liner in place, we can cut that down. The number's not known just yet, but even if it takes it down by 1,000, 2,000 or more, right, those are gains that will keep the lake wetted longer.
So are things looking optimal right now?
As we stand right now, things are looking pretty good. The lake levels are nice, but as we mentioned before, what happens today doesn't necessarily speak to what happens a month from now, but fingers crossed, things are looking good.
This project, just one of the few ways the province is working to conserve our salmon stock.
In a good year, it's a sea of red, right? There's like so many fish in the channel. It's really quite exciting. The water's not very deep. It's about 1 foot deep when it's running. So you get a very good view of the fish. You can see them pairing up. You can see them digging the reds, actively spawning. You know, it's the whole life history of the fish arriving, dying, all that sort of stuff. It's quite amazing. But a big part of it is also stewardship, right? So we have a great working relationship with the Stateless First Nations through the employment that we do here. And then it's also about the environment, right? Like the fish doesn't stop contributing even after it's dead, right? The nutrients that it gives back to the system feeds the baby, the salmon, it feeds the birds, the bears, the trees, right? So having a resource like this and being able to sustain a run such as the Weaver Creek sockeye is critical.
The Weaver Creek spawning channel is free and open to the public for viewing. Peak spawning activity can be seen from October 15th to 20th. In Agassiz, Cecilia Hua, City News.